So you are saying to me, Ned Mannoun, as the Mayor of Liverpool, that I can go onto the streets of Liverpool or into a community building and mourn the death of Adolf Hitler and a murderous bastard like Ivan Milat, and you've got no problem with people mourning the death of someone who was responsible for the innocent killings of thousands of people? Is that seriously what you're saying? I've had my say this morning on some comments made by the Mayor of Liverpool Council. He's come out over the last few days attacking the Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns, saying that he has a fetish with attacking the Islamic community and that Mr Minns is doing more to hurt social cohesion than any other leader in the state's history. The comments come as Shiite Muslims mourn the death of the Ayatollah at a council-owned community centre. Here's what Sheikh Ali Safdari said during a sermon at Arncliffe over the course of the weekend.
No amount of mental preparation could have made us ready for the pain in our hearts. I'm speaking about Ayatollah al-Shaheed Sayyid Ali Khamenei. He had only one title missing from his resume, and today that title was given to him. That was the title of al-Shaheed, the martyr.
Well, if you ask me, that is beyond the pale. The Premier called it atrocious, and he's right, it is atrocious. Does the Mayor think an act like this is okay? Well, let's find out. Ned Mannoun, the Mayor of Liverpool City Council, is on the line. Ned, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mark.
Should we be mourning the death of the Ayatollah?
Mate, I think in a free society, people should be able to do and think what they want and not have politicians tell them what they should think or what they shouldn't do. My role as Mayor is to promote social cohesion and protect Australian values, which are freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and making sure politicians don't tell us who we should hate or not hate on depending what day it is.
Don't you have a responsibility, though, Ned, as a community leader, to call out hatred, especially that from a regime that is responsible for the deaths of innocent people?
See, this is what's confusing, Mark. See, John Howard had diplomatic relationships with Iran. He actually increased trade. Tony Abbott, when he was Prime Minister, sent Julie Bishop to meet with the Ayatollah to talk about trade and discussions. So, and only till last year we kicked out the ambassador from Iran, from Australia. So, if the Australian government had issues and were so badly, they should have severed diplomatic relationships with Iran a long time ago.
Ned, with respect, that was 10 years ago, mate. The world has changed.
No, but these issues, if you listen to people, say they've been happening since then. But my issue is this: why should government tell us what to think? The leader of Al Qaeda is now the president of Syria. So do we like him or do we don't like him? Ultimately, it's for people to make up their choice. We live in a free country.
Okay.
And my argument is that if politicians should get focused on doing their job, on policing, on making sure our hospitals run right, rather than tell Australians what to think.
All right. Well, with that said, Ned, if that's honestly your position, does that then mean that if I want to go and mourn the death of Adolf Hitler in Liverpool, if I want to mourn the death of someone like, I don't know, Ivan Milat, are you honestly saying to me this morning that I am free to do that in Liverpool because I have a right to free speech? Is that seriously what you're saying?
Mate, I don't make the laws. The Premier makes the laws.
So you are saying to me, Ned Mannoun, as the Mayor of Liverpool, that I can go onto the streets of Liverpool or into a community building and mourn the death of Adolf Hitler and a murderous bastard like Ivan Milat, and you've got no problem with people mourning the death of someone who was responsible for the innocent killings of thousands of people? Is that seriously what you're saying?
No, my personal view is, no, you shouldn't do it. Is it illegal? Well, that's up to the state government, and that's what Chris Minns should fix. So if Chris Minns has a problem, he should go out there into this mosque that's in his electorate and say, I want to close it down because I don't believe what's being said here. He is the Premier. He has the laws. We only work off the laws of the New South Wales, go out there and say. When Gert Wilders came to Australia, nobody wanted him to speak anywhere. You know what I said? He can come to Liverpool, right? Even though I don't agree with what he has to say, but Gert Wilders was invited to come to Liverpool, and he spoke in Liverpool against Islam in the heart of Liverpool because I'm an Australian and we believe in free speech. I may not agree with what you have to say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. That's what Australia is built upon. That's what Voltaire said, and that's what we should be doing, not thought policing or going down the road of condemnation. We don't need to do that. And Mark, I got to give you credit. You went out there and stood up to Pauline Hanson the other day, and I take my hat off to you, and it made me so proud when she said there are no such things as good Muslims, and you stood up to her. That's what we need to be hearing more of. We need to be doing positive things like that. But if Chris Minns has a problem with the laws, change the laws. We'll enforce them. I cannot have people filling out forms about what their politics are and what they believe in before they can access a council service.
Ned, you're effectively excusing people mourning the death of a terrorist. That's what you're doing.
No, I'm not excusing it. I don't support any Middle Eastern regime.
Ned, you are, mate. With respect, you are, because you are allowing these people into a building that is run by your council, and you are saying, I do not have a problem as mayor because they have a right to free speech. If they want to go and mourn the death of the Ayatollah, do it at the mosque. They don't do it in a community building. Yes or no?
Well, mate, once again, how do we know what they're doing in community buildings? How do I get them to fill out a form saying, what are you going to do there?
Oh, mate, that's a cop-out, Ned. Come on, how do you know what we're doing? You've got a responsibility to know what they're doing.
So you want to live in a country, your Australia, is where everybody has to state their political views before they access government service.
No, I want to live in a country. No, Ned. I want to live in a country where I don't make excuses for terrorist scumbags and lowlifes who are responsible for the murder of innocent people. And I want community leaders like you, Ned Mannoun, to take a stand, like Angus Taylor has done from your side of politics, and say we will not support this sort of rubbish in a free country like us. If you want to go and mourn the death of the Ayatollah and you want to accept what's going on in Iran, don't stay here. Go and live over there, because you won't get the same freedoms that you get here in Australia.
Well, exactly right. And it's about freedoms. So the question is, what freedoms are you talking about? Is there a line on freedoms? We have, unfortunately, this is what happens when you have free speech. People will say things that you don't like. I don't agree with what they have to say. I don't agree with any Middle Eastern regime. Right? I have nothing to do with them. But ultimately, I'm an Australian, and I don't want government telling me what to think or what to do and what to say. That's what we fight for. That's what freedom is about. It's not selective freedom. So if the government wants to change those laws, then say so. Say you cannot think this and you cannot do that.
Do you honestly think the vast majority of people in the Liverpool City Council area think it is okay to go and mourn the death of the Ayatollah? Because at the end of the day, you're the mayor of the city of Liverpool, and you need to represent your constituents. So my question to you, Ned Mannoun, is, do you genuinely think the vast majority of people in your area support the stand that you have taken? Because I've got to be honest with you, if I'm to read out the 150 messages that have just come through, there are so many people who think you are stark raving mad.
Mate, if you want politicians to work on what majority thinks all the time, then yeah, fine, no worries. The majority of Australians think it's wrong, but I tell you what, there's a large amount of Australians, I'd probably even say the majority, who believe in free speech, who believe in freedom of thought. Right? So yeah, do I condemn? I don't think people should go out there and do these things, but it's up to them.
Aren't you? Surely you are doing, Ned. Like I mean, I've spoken to you about a whole range of things over many, many years, right? And I think you're a decent fella. Are you doing this for political purposes, given the rubbish that's going on within your council at the moment? I mean, every time I pick up a newspaper, you're at war with somebody else on council. Why aren't you standing up for what's right for the people of Liverpool, mate?
Yeah, well, we are. Every single day, we're trying to make the area better. We're trying to promote social cohesion. We're trying to bring people together.
Why are you sending $20,000 to Lebanon? What's that got to do with Liverpool?
Mate, we've sent money to India. We've sent money to Samoa. We've sent money.
But how does that improve
Fiji?
the lives of people in Liverpool by sending $20,000 to Lebanon?
No, into other countries. So whenever there's been a disaster happening in other places of the world, the councillors unanimously, can I say every single council voted for these things, and I didn't put the motion up, but I did vote for them.
But then you cry poor, Ned. You cry poor and say, we're running out of money, we need some more money. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, ultimately on a $500 million plus budget. But you know what? When you have members of the local community who say they want to be supported, they're doing it. We're spending money now on social cohesion programs, on doing things that we need to be going out there and doing. So, but once again, our issue is we have a situation at the moment where people are doing something. If the Premier is not happy with it, the Premier should go out there and make these things illegal, and it makes our life easier. I don't do security checks on people when they hire a hole. We don't do these things, right? If the Premier has issues, then change the laws.
So what you're saying to me, it's a free-for-all in Liverpool. If you support terrorism and you want to hire out a community hall, go for it, because Liverpool Council doesn't do any checks. How ridiculous, Ned. What a ridiculous thing to say.
Well, they're going in the Premier in his own electorate.
But hang on, no, stop, Ned, stop. What has the Premier got to do with what happens in your local council area? I'm sick and tired of councils and mayors coming on this program and saying, Chris Minns has got to do this, Chris Minns has got to do this. At the end of the day, Ned, as the Mayor of Liverpool, the buck stops with you.
Yeah, very simply, because Mark, the radio into what you just played from that chef speaking was spoken in Chris Minns' electorate. It wasn't spoken in Liverpool. So you brought his electorate into this, and that's happening in his electorate. And if he has a problem, then go deal with it there, and we will follow his lead.
Okay, well, with what you've argued this morning to me in this spirited debate, does that mean that a hate preacher in your local area, because I've got a lot of your constituents writing to me saying, Mark, what's Ned going to do about these hate preachers in the Liverpool City Council area? Does that mean because they have a free speech that they're allowed to continue doing what they're doing within the boundaries of the law, yes or no?
If hate speech is illegal, then no, they're not allowed to do it. Simple as that.
But if they bend the rules to suit themselves, you don't have a problem with the hate preachers, given what's happened at Bondi and what's happening with our social cohesion, you don't have a problem with it?
I would prefer that all communities are protected. We don't have any free speech anywhere, right? This is other government departments are supposed to be doing it. But once again, we're not the thought police. We're not listening to what these people are saying in their halls. Yeah, I'd prefer if no one hated on each other, and we got down to a situation where we recognize there's bad and there's good everywhere.
All right.
That's the reality. But look at this, Mark. This is a great example. We can have a discussion. We can agree to disagree, and we can move on. And this is what democracy and free speech is about. And that's what we need to have more of. We should be able to disagree with people and agree to disagree and move on with life.
Is it right to suggest the Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns, has a fetish with attacking the Islamic community? Do you honestly believe what you've said? Are you willing to apologise for that? Because it couldn't be further from the truth.
For him to cancel the iftar dinner because community leaders don't want to go, for every community leader saying that what he is doing is wrong, is unacceptable. I've never seen it. I've been involved in Liberal Party politics for 20 years. I've observed. I've never seen a leader attack any group of people like the way Chris Minns has. And it's bad out here, and we need to be bridges. You talked about social cohesion. We need to be building bridges, and he's not doing that.
But just on that, and I'm sorry to interject again here, but the Premier, if I'm right or wrong, and in fact I know I'm right because I've heard him say it himself, he has condemned repeatedly Muslim hate and the growth of that hate. What more can he do?
Well, at the moment, he should go out there and meet with these community leaders who don't want to meet, who are saying that you're not doing the right job. There are organizations that are set up that he is saying that they don't want to have a conversation with him. So that's between them and those people. He shouldn't be cancelling this iftar. I'm just the mayor. I'm doing what I can to try to build social cohesion. But it's got to be called out. Islamophobia is going through the roof. We need people to do what you did, Mark, the other day, and go out there and condemn Pauline Hanson for her hate speech like you did. And I tell you, I was so proud when you did that, because that's what we need to be hearing more of. Because when my kids are going out there listening to the radio in the morning or reading the papers, and like, well, Dad, what's going on? I don't get this.
But Ned,
this is not the Australia we talk about.
But Ned, what I've got a problem with is inflammatory comments like the Premier has a fetish with attacking the Islamic community. I looked it up this morning. I went back through my records, right? Australian National Imams Council to better support victims of anti-Muslim hate. There was $1 million in funding from the Minns government in August 2025. Multicultural New South Wales awarded $1.2 million in grants since 2022 to support Islamophobia Register Australia under the Compact program. I'll continue on. They've also invested $15 million over 4 years to support the safety and security of places of worship through the Safe Places for Faith Communities grants program. And the president of ANIC, a Sunni Muslim, and a director of the Shia Muslim Council of Australia are both on the New South Wales Faith Affairs Council. So how can you honestly say that Mr Minns has a fetish with attacking the Islamic community when his government has clearly put its money where its mouth is when it comes to Islamophobia?
Well, he is the one who's gone out there and cancelled the iftar dinner, which has been something that we've been doing in Sydney for probably 20-odd years from different types of government. Once again, it's not just about money, Mark. It's about having respect. And at the moment, there is a breakdown in dialogue, and that's why he cancelled the iftar dinner. So that's for him to go out there. What I want to do is, when we're trying to build bridges with people, we need to make sure that people don't go into their own sort of conclaves or become like turtles and go back into their shells. We've got to get people out, and we've got to continue dialogue. And sometimes dialogue is uncomfortable. And I think the Premier should be going out there and saying, guys, well, why don't you want to have an iftar dinner? Why do you want to sit down? That's what we need him to do. No one wants more for this country, yourself, myself. We want to see peace. We want to see everyone living together. We want to see Australians all getting along and agreeing to disagreeing. And we need the Premier to play his role on that. And I can tell you now, like I said, the word on the street in southwest Sydney is he's not doing that.
All right. Well, one last question. It's in relation to the protest at the town hall recently where Muslims who were praying were moved on by police. You've been critical of the actions of police. Why?
Firstly, I fully support the police and have good relations, but I think what happened was a mistake. With that police officer pulling that guy off the ground, I think that was wrong, and it's very painful. I never thought I'd be in Australia and that would happen when they're kneeling on the ground, and I think that's really upset a lot of people. To me, it's a dark day. It's a dark day on our history, which I never thought we would see.
Well, Ned, as a Lebanese Muslim that you are, as an Australian Muslim.
Okay,
that's fine.
All right.
But when you pray, do you pray somewhere quiet?
You pray on time. That's more important. Wherever you are, you pray. So we pray 5 times a day. So as soon as the call for prayer goes, you're supposed to stop and pray as soon as possible.
But it's my understanding,
preferably when it's quiet.
It's my understanding that you are to pray somewhere quiet because you are praying to your God. Now, my question to you is this: if that is what is supposed to happen, how is praying in the middle of a protest doing that peacefully and quietly?
Well, the police said to him, "You can go and pray over there." That's been confirmed. They said that was away from the protest as much as they could, and they were told they can go up there and pray there. Right? But it's happened. At the end, this is what we need to move on. Ultimately, do we want that to happen? It was a mistake. Let's move on with it. The Premier should apologize.
Was it done for a reaction, Ned?
No, people are praying. Far from it.
In the middle of a protest.
Once again, the call to prayer went off. They went and spoke. The organizer of the protest, a barrister, Mahmoud Hawala, went and spoke to the senior police officer there and said, "Can we pray?" He goes, "Yes, you guys can go and pray over there." So they went and did that. Aside from the protest, the message was not conveyed to other police officers, and what we've seen has transpired.
All right. Look, you've fronted up, and that's all we can ask. You're not getting a lot of support on the text line, and I've got to admit I vehemently disagree with what you've put forward today. But as you say, we live in a democracy where we can agree to disagree. But I think at the moment, given that we talk a lot about social cohesion, anyone who isn't prepared to condemn those who want to use public places, community buildings to mourn the death of a terrorist, well, I think we've got some significant problems. Anyway, Ned, I wish you well, and I'm sure we'll catch up again soon.
Yes, good on you, Mark. Thank you.
That's Ned Mannoun, the Mayor of Liverpool, with an extended chat. Well, I'll throw it open to you. As you can tell, I vehemently disagree with what he's saying, but I want to give you the chance to have your say. It's the important nature of the open line. 131873, the number. Do you buy what he's selling to you in respect of free speech? I don't. What I would much rather is a community leader and council mayor like Ned Mannoun to stand there and unreservedly say that we will not allow terror supporters and supporters of a regime to mourn the death of people like the Ayatollah in our community buildings. Okay, if you want to push the whole free speech thing, that's fine. Go and mourn the death in a mosque. Do it behind closed doors, but do not use community buildings. 131873, the number, 2gb.com. Click onto the feedback icon. You can text me, 0460 873 873. And I think at a time when we're trying to bring the community together, and Ned Mannoun just made the point that, we need to come together as a country. Well, making outlandish statements like the Premier has a, quote, fetish with attacking the Islamic community, that is just ridiculous. It's unhelpful, it's unfair, and I think it's unbecoming of a bloke who calls himself the Mayor of Liverpool. Christine says, Ned Mannoun, concentrate on tidying up Liverpool. The rubbish that is along the roadways, grass so high, roads need improving. Liverpool Council, do your job. Focus on improving the area and not get political. I can't keep up with all these messages that are coming through. Ned Mannoun wants to be called an Australian. What a joke. Mark with... oh my God, Mark, he was terrible. He obviously still has support for Iran and their ways. Imagine what is being said behind closed doors in these mosques. Mayor of Liverpool, you don't need a long neck to be a goose from Wayne. So if Ned Mannoun had a gay son, daughter, brother, sister thrown off a building or a crane or a relation shot in Iran, would he still be so forthright in the need for free speech? Give me a break, Ned. Let's get to your calls. Kelly's at Green Valley. Morning, Kelly.
Hi, Mark. Love your show. How are you?
Oh, I'm not too bad. A bit fired up after speaking to Ned, but anyway, we'll calm back down.
You're fired up. I'm fired up. I'm in his electorate, and can I just say I've had 4 generations, actually, through his electorate. I'm absolutely disgusted that he's allowed this to happen, to have his community, our community, places to allow people to worship a terrorist. Does that make me feel safe? Absolutely not. Liverpool at the moment is an absolute dive. He really needs to concentrate on using our money, our taxpayers' money, to fix up our parks. Just even around the roads. Like you look at the rubbish that's building up, the weeds that are growing everywhere. He needs to fix our area up instead of sending money overseas. This is the problem when you have people like him in very prevalent positions where he can make calls, and if he wants to be he classifies himself as an Australian Muslim, he's got to look at how we feel, how his electorate feels. I certainly don't feel safe knowing that these people are mourning a terrorist.
Yeah.
We've already had problems in Liverpool.
Yeah. And Kelly, one of our previous callers in the first hour of the program made the point, and I put it to Ned. I said, well, okay, if you want to go down this path of so-called free speech and people having a right to express their feelings, does that mean that I can go and mourn the death of Adolf Hitler? Does that mean I can go and mourn the death of Ivan Milat? I mean, where do you draw the line? We're talking about, and I know I sound like a broken record and I keep harping on it, we're talking about the lowest of lows. Terrorist leaders that have run regimes that have killed innocent people just for protesting about the need for basic human rights. Kelly, thanks for calling through. Phil's at Bidwell. Phil, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. Yeah, mate, it just shows the whole of Australia just how much loyalty we've got because of these ones mourning the death of the Ayatollah. And obviously they're not with us. They're against us, mate. That's what it's showing the Australian people.
Well, Phil, they're supporting a terror regime, aren't they? They're supporting what the Ayatollah has done. And let's not forget, when the Supreme Court allowed the protesters to march across the Sydney Harbour Bridge, there were people holding up his photo. There were people holding up his photo as they marched across one of our most famous landmarks in the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And we want to talk about social cohesion when we can't even have a local mayor stand up and say, no, we should not be allowing people to mourn the death of a terror leader in ratepayer-funded buildings. Ned, you've lost the plot. Rose is at Strathfield. Morning, Rose.
Oh, good morning. Just a quick point. The Mayor constantly referred to the right to free speech, and people have the right to mourn the death of Khamenei. But he never referred to the right of people who are under the terrorist regime, their right to free speech, particularly the women and all the atrocities that have been committed against them, the gays, etc. Where are their rights to free speech? But the Mayor didn't reflect on that at all. Bang on point, Rose. That is spot on. It's a bit rich for us to talk about free speech when people don't even have the basic human rights in a place like Iran. Rose, I thank you for your call, and thank you to all those people that are sending through messages. There's some people that are fairly fired up, and I just hope Ned Mannoun reflects on what he's had to say, because he is not getting one bit of support at all. There's a chance for, I suppose, the local constituents to have their say at the next council elections, but we need community leaders, we need all community leaders to stand up and say no. No to terrorism, no to hate, no to anybody who thinks it's okay to support and mourn and shed a tear for somebody who's responsible for the heartless killings of thousands and thousands of people.